Welcome everyone in this new video tutorial about the multiplayer combat editor. In this video we're going to break down weapon skills and what they are. So in the previous video I talked about weapon systems, and weapon skills are not directly related to your weapon system in the sense that they are just active skills with more features, with more built-in features. So if you create a child of the montage skill or the active skill, for instance, you're going to have a bunch of features. And if you build up, and weapon skill is a child of active skill, so it has all the feature of active skills. But it has several other features related to its scan shots, projectile, recoil, to move the camera and the crosshair, stuff related to the fire rate, stuff related to what happened to gun, to muzzle, socket muzzle, stuff related to your input, what happens when you press and release the inputs, because I created child classes of the weapon skill, which are automatic fire, charge fire, and semi-automatic fire. And what are they? They are just shoot behavior. What I mean by that is automatic fire is going to continuously shut as long as I'm holding the input, whereas semi-automatic fire is going to shut once when I press the input, and another time if I repress it and if it has the fire rate. And charged fire is going to be, you're going to hold the input and it's going to trigger the shot when you release the input, and it's going to do stuff based on how much time you held the input. So these are the main shot behavior, and I recommend you to create a child class of weapon skill, and I recommend you to create your own shot behavior, just so you can create, if you have a child of weapon skill and then your own shot behavior, you can create functions shared by all your shot behaviors in your child of weapon skill. Whereas if you are using directly automatic fire, charge fire, and semi-automatic fire, you are not going to be able to add functions to all of them at once, because you are not going to add function to weapon skill because you don't want to modify MCE content. So what do we want to say now? You can, so these skills are basically like any other skills. When you press them, we're going to open up an example. When you use them, you specify a bunch of gameplay events and it's going to trigger them. So for instance, and you are also setting the metrics like the other skills, but they have different metrics, damage, fire rate, recoil, and stuff like that, recoil recovery, recoil peak speed, and we're going to check that in this video maybe. So for instance, the rifle shots, what happens when it shuts? I built a little logic that says for each of the skills we create out of our weapon skills, we have one function that triggers when we need to trigger the gameplay effect of the skills. And in our case, we are only triggering its scan shot, which says find actors, find where was looking the player and deal damage to the target it was looking at. So this is one of the features contained in the weapon skill, and you have some other features such as play shoot animation, which is just wrapping up some functions. Whoops, where did I add that function? In there. I don't want to add it there. I want to add it on the event graph. So play shoot animation is basically just, so we are going to go over the variables of the weapon skill when you create a weapon skill, because play shoot animation is using one of these variables. So damage, you know the drill, it's dealing damage based on the amount you put there. Fire rate is going to be basically the attack speed of the skill, how many times it should trigger uh, the frequency of shots. Recoil is going to be a built-in function. It's going to be related to a built-in function which makes your crosshair goes up when you shot. So if you want an example, so I still cannot move. So I'm just going to use my skill. All right. So as you can see, my crosshair is moving when I press my inputs. So that's a built-in weapon skill feature, which is proc recoil impulse. So when you call proc recoil impulse, it's actually making your crosshair go up. And when you call start recoil recovery, it's actually making your crosshair go down. Based on these values. So this is how fast it's going to go down, and this is how much it goes up. And this is how fast it goes up, recoil peak speed. Muzzle particle is going to be, I think, create or activate muzzle. So the muzzle is the particle effect attached to your gun when you shoot. At the tip of your gun. So when you specify a particle there, and when you call create or activate muzzle, so we are just going to go there and put that here. I could be calling these play shoot animation, create or activate muzzle, proc recoil impulse when I trigger the shoot effect of the rifle shot, but all of these functions are already wrapped up in the automatic fire shoot behavior. So I don't need to call them here. But this is triggering the muzzle as it should. What else do we get here? We also have... So its scan shot is just performing a recast in front of us and dealing damage to the first target it hits. You could be customizing this behavior if you don't want its scan shot to do that, but it's basically wrapping up some function I'm using everywhere, at least for instance, snipers and rifles. I'm using that function all the time. What else do we get? On recoil picked is a function you can override if you want to do some stuff. Basically, in the shoot behavior on recoil pick, I'm actually doing some stuff. I think it's in the semi-automatic fire or not. Am I never using this? I'm actually calling that. On recoil picked, we are starting the recoil recovery. And in the automatic fire, it's being override. Yes, so that's a generic function you don't need to call. But so on recoil peak says when you reach the maximum recoil of the recoil impulse, you automatically start recovering your recoil. Start recoil recovery, so I don't have to cut this every time, but it's actually disabled for automatic fire just because it would, since they have a high fire rates, it makes your crosshair jiggles, and I needed to do that. So basically, if you want to tweak the recoil behavior, you can tweak that, overwrite on recoil picked, and tell it not to recover its recoil at that moment if you want. You have a lot of examples of this, of how to set up your own shot behavior in these 3 blueprints. They are all quite easy to understand with not so many things going on. So make sure to check them out. They are contained within not the example, but directly MCE. Automatic fire, charge fire, and semi-automatic fire. If you want to set up your weapon behavior properly. So this is it for that video. I think we are going to create weapon skills in another video. Hope you enjoyed that one and hope to see you in the next ones. Bye bye.